Good day, critters, new and old. My name is David. This is Mana and Maple, and today we're going to do a theory video. I used to do this as well. I've only done this one time, but in the past I did a theory and lore video, and that sucker was an hour and 10 minutes long. And so let's try to make this a little bit shorter. Before we get too far into that, we want to go ahead and say that I'm going to be using a few viewers, people who've commented specifically, and some of their theories when I go through individual character theories. So, new theories as of episode 2. And so, I want to say first off, spoilers, guys. There's lots of spoilers inside here, and a lot of theory making is almost an art form in and of itself. So, we'll start off with Azune. We know that Azune was given to the Torn Banner and was a sorcerer before a paladin. Now, Shisuna says, we are thinking that Azune is a dragon, you say. I don't think he's a dragon per se. But I do think that he is Sorcerer first, Paladin second. And the reason why I say he's Paladin second is when his father gave him over to the Torn Banner, he was learning how to use weapons and shields from Teor and Cadigan, which means that he was not skilled in those things first. I want to say we were given the clues as to what Azune's sorcerer origin was in episode 1. If we can think back to when he cast Detect Magic as a level 1 spell, and that gust of wind blew around him and Thiazi.
And with that, instead of casting the ritual, I'm actually going to use a spell slot and cast Detect Magic in that moment. An updraft of wind moves up towards me, a pulse radiates out, and Detect Magic.
That's a Storm Sorcerer. That is a level 1 ability or level 1 feature of a Storm Sorcerer. When you cast a level 1 or higher spell, a gust of wind comes around you, and you can use that as flavor. So my guy Azune is a Storm Sorcerer first, and I think that Michael Anvilgort 335 is correct. That he has 2 levels of Paladin, and those 2 levels of Paladin, he's got a Blessed Warrior fighting style. I really agree with that. I do disagree with him insofar as I think Azune is going to go farther into Paladin and not so much into Sorcerer. He might, but I think that he's going to be more of a support style class and not like a frontline tanking style Paladin. Things that we learned about Teor, he's a social paladin, not a fighting paladin. He may fight more, but his drive really speaks of his Calamity character and his need to be a detective and figure stuff out. So I'm happy for that. Thimble's easy. She's probably an assassin. She may be a thief, but she's probably an assassin, and she picks fights like she knows she can win. So I think that's really cool. This is, of course, not in any sort of order, and I want to like really double underline that. The Taconuses, we met the Primus Taconus. We met the main guy, and those guys are necromancers. They probably have a lich in the family, and they probably have a couple of vampire or vampire lords in that family. That family deals in death. So when Yanessa, the Photarch of the Candescent Creed and the Halavar family, is saying that she doesn't understand how they're moving in the background or what pieces they're moving in the background. It's because they're liches. And the more death there is in the world, the more bolstered their ranks will become. And that's why they haven't faltered one bit. Wars have really just probably built them up in a way. I want to talk about Cadigan and Wulfric too. Cadigan and Wulfric, the bond that they share is so strong that Taisha was warned that it'd be too powerful. I wonder if Wulfric is a cursed human. Like, the scarring, the prosthetic, the weaponry on there, I think Wulfric used to be, and the connection they have, the thieves' cant that they use to talk to each other, I think Wulfric was a human traveling companion that got cursed by something, and now they share this unbreakable bond because he feels guilty for what happened to Wulfric specifically. I have nothing to back that up, but that is just a wild theory that popped in my head the other day. Bolaire While looking at the coffin of Obalad, he pushed his consciousness into a different box to check on what was inside there. Was told that it deteriorated a little bit, and then he came back. Now, I've seen thoughts that maybe that's his patron, but really, I think his true face is inside there. I think he made a bad deal with a fae and got his face replaced, which rad. But I really believe that his actual real face, kind of like a oh, who is it, Dorian Gray, like a Dorian Gray sort of situation, where the painting ages in real time and he stays young. I think we got a thing like that going on. The Shade and Julian. I think we saw the fallout of the Shade that went after Julian on the first episode. And with the resupply caravan being stuck at the Davalos Pass, I think that that Shade is going to curse his family with bad luck. And it starts off with that resupply caravan being blocked on the other side of the mountains. Um, Something that really like struck me as funny is Wick and Octus have similar backstories. They're both nobles. Um, they're both on the younger side for their houses, and their houses deal in now. After episode 2, we know Halavars deal in some really shady. We've got an angel chained up in an Iron Maiden, and we're using his blood to, if I'm right about the Taconuses being necromancers and lichdom and vampires. Either way, that's using the extremes of power and seeking of power and really corrupting the world around them. And I think that Wick and Octus, they're going to go in different directions, but they come from very similar places. Um, Tyranny Tyranny really cares for Wick, and of her sisters, is the most conscientious one. I think that's Wick's doing, and the fact that Wick is so pure, so to speak, um, that he has had a really good influence on Tyranny overall. And I think that Tyranny cares for him in a like initially we were led to believe that he is there to make sure that she knows what she's doing, but I think she feels responsible for keeping him out of trouble. And with the reveal at the end of episode 2, I think that they're going to have a deeper bond because of that, and she's going to try to pull him away from that family. Um, Along with that, the reveal, the angel and the Iron Maiden, and the filament and the blood gushing from the pearlescent white blood gushing from it, which we now know is tattooed on Wick's face. Oh, what he didn't know, man. What he did not know. He's an Asimar divine soul sorcerer. I mean, that's about all that I can really think. I think that he's also going to search out Teor, because Teor, now that he knows that the light is a bunch of Hui, and that his family has been using that to spread influence and power, uh, he has seen true divinity in the same day that he was told that his family is not touched by the light. So he's gonna make a play to talk to Teor again, because Teor is has a connection that he wants desperately, but he doesn't actually have. With that being said, I think we're going to start seeing everyone break off into their teams with their big goals kind of set aside. We have seen that a little bit already, but we're starting to see overarching themes of what's happening to every single character, and I want to go through that real quick. Uh, Team one is Stone of the Night Song, and so we know that both Thimble and Valus are going to be going after the Song of the Night Song. And we know that Cadigan is going to stick with Thimble because he feels responsible, or he wants to make sure that she's safe. And Thimble asked Octus to come along on that journey. So I think that Team one, whatever they're going to be going down, I think that they're the schemers specifically. I think that these guys are going to be going through a thieves guild and hunting down a thieves guild, specifically looking for the Stone of the Night Song, and that's the breakaway, the beginning of the breakaway for that table, and it's going to show more in connection to the coffin of Oblad later on. But at the end of this overture, those four are going to walk off on their own. I think the next four are going to be questioning around divinity and sources of power. I think that this is the Seeker's table. I think that this table is, and I've thought this for a little while here. Um, this table is going to be the ones who move and shake inside social circles and try to figure out what really happens with divinity, what really happens with your connection. How is Teor able to cast divine spells without a god, so to speak? And sources of power amongst houses, and really how to balance all of that out. I think that's going to be Wick searching after Teor because Teor has divinity, Tyranny because she's going to go along with Wick to keep him safe, and I think Tyranny loves Wick, or loves how pure and innocent Wick is in the face of all adversity. And then Hal is probably going to go with Wick as well. And I want to say their interactions have been odd. I know that Sam and Liam are friends in real life, and they joke about being lovers in real life. I think that they're actually lovers in this campaign, maybe in the background. But I think that Hal is probably bisexual, and I think that Wick is more uh, he's more gay. And he really reminds me of Tyrion Darrington. The whole persona of Wick really reminds me of Tyrion Darrington, and that's kind of where I'm getting this from. So I really think that they may not be now, but I think that they were lovers at one point in time. And I think that that's going to be a driving reason why Hal joins this particular team. And then Team 3 is Corruption of the Sundered Houses. These guys have been touched in one way or the other by the power of the Sundered Houses specifically. And we're going to see them come together in a violent sort of way. These are the ones who their worlds have been turned upside down by the Sundered Houses, and they may start to fight back against that. And those are Julian. Taconis and Halabar are putting a lot of pressure on Royce. And we also know that Julian makes rash decisions. He doesn't always do what his house or his father says is right or he should be doing. He has a tendency to do what is best for his family and their honor. And so I think that he's going to be really upset about the pressure Taconis and Halavar are putting on edging out Royce, who is their liege lord. Taisha is hot-headed and protective and will go after anybody who threatens her family. And really, so far, her family hasn't been threatened, but I think in episode 3 or 4, her family will be threatened. Either Alagar through Julian and the Sundered Houses going after that, or House Taconis going very heavily against Octus. And we know that she is protective of Octus as like a protege almost. So that means to me she will fight against whoever's going after her perceived children. Bolaire, I bet, with the shutdown of or the shenanigans of the Council of Lords Advisory against the Pentaveral, I bet they're going to do that to the museum too. I bet in episode 3 or 4 they're going after the funding of the museum to kind of cut that, to pull more money into them, to really solidify their space, and that's going to make Bolaire upset. Or they make funding cuts at it, and the Loy wing gets shut down, and he loses his job. One of the two. Murray. Murray has had her world turn upside down because of the Council of Lords Advisory to the Revolutionary Council. Those guys used a dastardly trick to really rip the seat out, and they're making changes to that school. And I don't think, well, she got really emotional about it, and so I think that that's going to be a driving force for her to strike back at the people who are, in her mind, probably the worst people in the city. And then Azune, we already know that he's in a similar situation to Murray, and so I think that with it, if I'm correct on Bolaire getting funding cut or losing his job because of funding cuts, then I think that Azune, Belair, Murray, Taisha, and Julian are team 3. And Azune has seen that that Einhausen guy saying that they're going to cut more from offices inside the Revolutionary Guard that aren't doing as much, and privatizing that. And Azune knows that sooner or later they're going to come for him as well, and that made him upset. He got hot-headed about that. He put himself into a patrol to Caravan Hill, and so I think that that's going to drive him into this. And I think that Team 3 is the soldiers. These guys are going to be more combat oriented, more action oriented, and yeah, I think that's the way that it is. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know what you think about any of this. Am I on the right track, you think? Am I wrong about this? Um, I have a lot of fun making these videos, so thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more of these things. Like the videos; it really helps. But more than anything, comments. I want your own theories. I want your own um, thoughts and where you think this is going. We're 2 games in. We have so much information, and I think that we can extrapolate out some really serious, hard-hitting points out of this. Coming up on Wednesday, I have the lore update, and the lore update is big. There's a lot of things put into this world in just 2 episodes, and so we're going to get that all out on paper and back out into the internet. And then from there, I will do a narrative thoughts video on Friday again. So thanks for watching. You guys have a wonderful day, and I really wish it was Thursday.